welcome everybody. Welcome to a new segment we're going to start calling Short Stories with Sheena. We've got a lot of stories we want to share with you, but I'm going to start it off right with one of my favorite stories. And it's a true story. That's all we're telling here is true stories. Crazy things that we've been a part of or have happened to us. One of my favorite stories to share is the time that I was almost landed on by a helicopter in a snowstorm. This was in the state that I live in. No, I am not ex-military or some sort of secret snipers, special forces, whatever. Just your average person who was working private security for a very important hospital, one that sees a lot of patients. And at the time, there was construction, and there was a new wing of this hospital being built, and it was moving to a higher level trauma center. And so a helipad was being built on the top of this hospital. However, because of the location we live, there happened to be a football stadium and field very nearby. So this happened to be, of course, in the dead of winter, and we had gotten a call. There'd been a horrible car accident, and a young gal, like 4 or 5 years old, needed to be transported from one place to the other. And of course, because of this horrible snowstorm, which we don't get terribly often in the area that I live in, the helicopter that was bringing her in couldn't get very far. So they had to land and jump on an ambulance to get her up to where she was going. So we get the call, we go out, and because this is kind of a low-tech situation while the build is happening, we have these little strobe lights that we put out so that the helicopter and the pilot can land and see where they're landing. So, and of course, it's a football field. We get out there, we do our job, all that fun stuff, put out the strobes, we get the young gal out of the helicopter, loaded onto an ambulance. The ambulance is due to drive the rest of the way and get her to a place where they can actually take care of her, make sure she's okay. And of course, it's heartbreaking, a little girl and all injured and all that fun stuff. So get her off and going, and jump back in the helicopter, watch the bird take off. We collect all the little strobies, and we're just about ready to get back to doing normal patrols and that kind of stuff. And I don't know what it is that caught my attention, but something did. And I told the guy I was driving with, his name is Jeff, and he'll probably check in on this a little bit later. Good guy, right? And I'll shout out to some of his stuff a little bit later. But he was my training officer at the time. Something wasn't right, and I told him, wait, something's not right. And I managed to look up, and remember, it's snowing real hard. And sure enough, that helicopter is circling over that construction. And I looked at Jeff, and Jeff looked at me, and we knew that bird was coming back down. And so we took off, booking it, right? Because again, this is basically a blizzard. It's whiteout conditions. So I go running out there as fast as I can, throwing these strobies out so this poor pilot can see where to land, because otherwise he's coming through this major city, coming through a football field. By the skin of our teeth, we get these strobes out, and man, that helicopter comes landing in, and from what I could see, this guy barely cleared the uprights. He must have had some serious skill in flying in his helicopter. It was so close to us. We basically had to sprawl out. I felt like that thing was right on top of us. Sure enough, the pilot gets out, and he's talking to us about how, he got up in the air and was heading back to where he's stationed. Couldn't see a thing. Of course, he has no communication with us. It was a crazy night. That poor pilot ended up staying the next 2 nights. We had staff who had to stay for several days at the location we were at to give care and to do their jobs. It was just a crazy night. So, that is the story about how I almost got landed on by a helicopter in a snowstorm. We'll catch you next time for the next Short Story with Sheena.